Think of your favorite Disney princess. Got one? Maybe it's Cinderella, or perhaps Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Okay, now quick. What's her mom's name? It's a trick question. Most of us can't name them because they are rarely mentioned or shown. Most Disney princesses are missing mothers. Coincidence? Not a chance. This isn't just a random storytelling choice, it's a clue to the dark origins of these seemingly sweet stories. The absence of mothers hints at deeper, more complex narratives. We all grew up with Disney's magical versions. These tales have been sanitized and sweetened for modern audiences. But before princesses sang with bluebirds, fairy tales were bedtime stories for adults. They were cautionary tales filled with moral lessons, and trust me, those original tales were not for the faint of heart. They were dark, gritty, and often quite gruesome. They were filled with violence, betrayal, and lessons that were way more real life than happily ever after. So buckle up, Buttercup. We're about to take a wild ride through history. We're diving deep into the dark side of Disney, uncovering the twisted roots of the stories we thought we knew. These tales have evolved over centuries, and their origins might surprise you. Get ready to see Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and the gang like never before. Their stories are far more complex and sinister than the animated versions we adore. You might want to leave the lights on for this one. As we peel back the layers, you'll discover the chilling truths behind these beloved characters. So grab some popcorn and settle in because this is going to be an eye-opening journey into the heart of fairy tales. Fairy tales weren't always about princesses and singing animals. In fact, the origins of these stories are far from the whimsical tales we know today. They were deeply rooted in the human experience, reflecting the struggles and fears of the times. Long ago, they were stories told around crackling fires. These gatherings were not just for entertainment. They were a means of passing down wisdom and cautionary tales from one generation to the next. These tales were less about entertainment and more about survival. They served as a way to communicate important lessons and warnings about the dangers that lurked in the world. They dealt with the harsh realities of life, famine, war, disease, not exactly kid-friendly stuff. These stories were raw and unfiltered, reflecting the brutal truths of the era. One of the earliest collections of fairy tales was Charles Perrault's Tales of Mother Goose. Perrault's work was groundbreaking, capturing the essence of these oral traditions and preserving them in written form. Published in 1697, these stories were meant for adults. They were filled with complex themes and moral lessons, often wrapped in a veneer of fantasy and wonder. They were full of morals and warnings, often delivered with a side of violence. These tales didn't shy away from depicting the consequences of one's actions, no matter how grim. Then came the brothers Grimm. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm were scholars who sought to preserve the rich folklore of their homeland. Their collection, Grimm's Fairy Tales, was published in 1812. This compilation included some of the most famous stories we know today, but in their original, unvarnished forms. While marketed towards children, their stories retained a dark edge. The Grimms believed that these tales should reflect the complexities of life, including its darker aspects. These tales were gritty, raw, and full of life lessons that were anything but sugar-coated. They served as a mirror to society, showing both its beauty and its brutality. Over time, fairy tales were sanitized. As society changed, so did the stories, becoming more suitable for young audiences. The gruesome details were softened, the endings made happier. This transformation was driven by a desire to protect children from the harsh realities that the original tales depicted. But the original versions remain, a reminder that even the most magical stories have a dark side. These ancient tales continue to captivate us, offering a glimpse into the fears and hopes of our ancestors. Today we can appreciate these stories in their many forms, understanding that their evolution reflects our own journey through history. From the fireside gatherings of old to the pages of modern books, fairy tales remain a powerful tool for teaching and reflection. So next time you read a fairy tale, remember its origins. These stories are more than just entertainment. They are a testament to the resilience and creativity of the human spirit. We all know the Disney version, Cinderella, the kind-hearted girl, finds her prince charming thanks to a fairy godmother and a glass slipper. But the original tale is a bit more intense. In the Grimm brothers version, Cinderella's stepsisters are desperate to fit into that tiny slipper. One sister slices off her toes, while the other cuts off her heel. Talk about dedication, right? But their gruesome plan backfires. Cinderella's prince is alerted by the blood dripping from their shoes. Whoops! And the punishment for the wicked stepsisters? It's brutal. Birds peck out their eyes, leaving them blind and alone. That's a far cry from the Disney ending. The original Cinderella is a story about jealousy, cruelty, and the very real consequences of greed. It's a reminder that life isn't always a fairy tale, and sometimes the bad guys get exactly what they deserve. Ah, Sleeping Beauty. She pricks her finger, takes a nap for 100 years, and wakes up to true love's kiss. Sweet, right? Well, the original story is a bit more complicated. In Giambattista Basile's version, Sleeping Beauty doesn't just take a nap, she falls into a coma, and while she's unconscious, she's impregnated by a king. Talk about a rude awakening. She eventually gives birth to twins, all while still asleep. The Disney version skips over those, shall we say, unconventional details. No surprise there. But the original story raises some uncomfortable questions about consent, agency, and the power dynamics between men and women. It's a far cry from the happily ever after we're used to. Section 5. Snow White. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most disturbed of them all? Snow White, a beautiful girl, a jealous stepmother, and a poisoned apple. It's a classic tale of good versus evil. But the original Snow White takes a dark turn at the end. In the Grimm version, the evil queen gets her comeuppance. But it's not a simple case of being banished or locked away. Oh no, it's far more gruesome than that. The queen is forced to dance in red-hot iron shoes until she drops dead. Ouch! This punishment, while extreme, reflects the brutal nature of justice in those times. It's a reminder that fairy tales often reflected the harsh realities of the world they were told in. No fairy godmothers or singing animals here, just cold, hard consequences. Section 6. The Little Mermaid, a deal with a devilish price. The Little Mermaid is a story about sacrifice, longing, and the desire to be part of another world. But Disney's version leaves out some crucial and heartbreaking details. In Hans Christian Andersen's tale, Ariel's journey to the surface comes with a terrible price. Every step she takes on her new legs feels like walking on sharp knives. Talk about suffering for beauty. But that's not even the worst part. If Ariel fails to win the prince's love, she's doomed to dissolve into sea foam. And spoiler alert, she doesn't get the guy. The Little Mermaid is a tragedy, a cautionary tale about the dangers of sacrificing everything for a dream that might not be worth the pain. Section 7. Rapunzel. Trapped in a tower of secrets? Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. It's a classic line from a classic fairy tale. But Disney's version barely scratches the surface of this complex story. In the Grimm brothers' version, Rapunzel isn't just locked away in a tower. She's imprisoned by a manipulative woman who uses her for her magical hair. And things take a dark turn when a prince enters the picture. Rapunzel ends up pregnant and is banished to the wilderness. The prince, blinded by grief, throws himself from the tower, losing his sight. It's a far cry from the happy reunion we're used to. This version of Rapunzel is a story about abuse, manipulation, and the consequences of unchecked power. Section 8. The enduring allure of darkness. So why do we revisit these dark fairy tales? What is it about these stories that keeps drawing us back generation after generation? Why dig into the grim origins of stories we thought were sweet and innocent? Is it mere curiosity, or is there something deeper at play? Because beneath the surface of these tales lies a truth that resonates with us. These stories, often cloaked in darkness, reflect the complexities of our own lives. Life isn't always a fairy tale. We encounter storms, face abandoned dreams, and navigate through ruins of what once was. We face challenges, heartbreak, and loss. These are universal experiences that connect us all, regardless of time or place. The original versions of these stories remind us that darkness exists, even in the most magical of worlds. They don't shy away from the harsh realities of life, but they also offer hope. Just as the dawn breaks through the darkest night, these tales show us that light can emerge from the shadows. These tales teach us resilience, courage, and the importance of fighting for what we believe in. They remind us that the journey, no matter how arduous, is worth undertaking. They show us that even in the face of adversity, there's always a glimmer of hope, a small flame that can light up the darkest of caves. So the next time you watch a Disney movie, remember the darker story lurking beneath the surface. These modern adaptations often sanitize the original tales, but the essence remains. Embrace the complexity, the darkness, and the enduring power of these timeless tales. They are a reflection of the duality of life, the balance between light and dark. And remember, sometimes the most important lessons come from the darkest of places. It's in these moments of darkness that we find our true strength and resilience. These stories, passed down through generations, are more than just entertainment. They are a testament to the human spirit, a chronicle of our collective experiences. So gather around, share these tales, and let them remind you of the enduring allure of darkness. For in the shadows, we often find the brightest sparks of wisdom and hope. The enduring allure of darkness is not just about the tales themselves, but about what they teach us. They are a mirror to our souls, reflecting our deepest fears and highest hopes. As we walk through life, let these stories guide us, remind us, and inspire us. For in the end, it's the journey through the darkness that makes the light all the more precious.